welcome to a bit of a review video. It's currently our last night here in the UK. Our ferry back to the continent is going at 10 a.m. tomorrow in the morning. So we probably should be sleeping right now, but I think it's sort of a good time to have a short look back at the last month and maybe give some first thoughts that come to mind when I look back on the trip now. I mean, it's not entirely over just yet, but I think it's at a point where I can talk about most of it, and I'll just sort of give my thoughts on this whole project or adventure. And actually, the first thing I just want to say is, in general, it has just been amazing. The trip was very nice. We didn't have any major problems except the ones you saw in the videos. But in general, it was just, we had nice weather. So I think we had like 1 or 2 days where it rained a lot, and besides that, maybe some short sort of phases of rain, but nothing that would sort of bother you beyond a certain point. And yeah, just in general, the whole experience was just, you can't describe it in any other way than just, if you watch the entire series, you would probably see what we've been up to, but you don't really get a feeling of how it actually is to do such a thing just through the videos. Obviously, I hope that the content sort of has been something that you guys enjoyed, but I can't sort of show you all the emotions or the feelings that we sort of experienced on this trip. So if you have the opportunity to, I mean, it sounds a bit crazy, but if you have the opportunity to, just try to do something similar, try to have an adventure. It is just such a nice experience. So yeah, that's basically a first sort of roundup of my thoughts about this entire trip. There's one thing I want to mention though. When driving in the UK, it can get interesting. Obviously, we have a driver's license, both of us, in Austria, and we are obviously allowed to drive also in the UK, and basically I think in all of Europe by now, because we are over 18, so that's fine. Some things in the UK are different than they are when you're driving in Austria. One of the most notable things is that you have roundabouts literally everywhere. I'm not quite sure what the idea is to put a roundabout in the middle of a road where you're allowed to drive 70 miles an hour and put a warning sign like, I don't know, 400 meters before that or 300 meters. So that's the first thing. That's a bit random. Second thing is, make roundabouts either 1 lane or 2 lanes. And if you're making them 2 lanes, sort of give an idea where you should put your car depending on where you want to go, because having 2 entries where there are no markings on where you're supposed to go in which lane just doesn't make any sense. It just leads to a lot of confusion from my point of view. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I have taken some driving test questions about the UK actually before doing this trip, so I should know a fair bit about that. Actually passed one proper test I passed, and I did some other questions as well. And yeah, just in general, driving in the UK, obviously it is left-hand drive, but that's totally fine. That was actually quite easy to adapt to. The road quality on itself is, again, something different, but yeah, mostly roundabouts in general logic. Like, why do you have sort of a turn going through the middle of a roundabout where there are 3 other exits than the 2 that the turn sort of has? So there are some very interesting choices when it comes to road layouts, but that's my short rant about the streets and the roads in the UK. And we now have some questions that Florian has written down, which I will now answer regarding some of the experiences and the trip in general that we had.
So in general, what was your favorite locomotive that we've seen?
I'm gonna go for 2. I'm gonna go for 1 narrow gauge and 1 standard gauge engine. I love a double ferry, so that's the Festinic Railway double ferry is just it's an all-time classic. I really love those things. They are great. So that's my pick for narrow gauge engines. Obviously all the clean engines are nice as well, but double ferry is a double ferry, so that's that. Standard gauge wise, it's really tough. I do love Manners. We saw Manners at the West Somerset Railway. Those were great. I think if I have to go for a single loco, it's probably the Black 5 at the North Yorkshire Moors Railway, because it's such a powerful thing when it comes through, and we also got some great footage of that. So I think that's, off the top of my head, I think that's the best standard gauge loco that we have seen. Yeah.
Okay. What was your favorite day during the trip?
Not a tough question. I mean, pretty much right at the beginning on the Friday, we had the. I mean, you probably have seen it. We have had the awesome opportunity to do the exhibition about the Thomas and Friends series at Wharf Station on the Tullochlan Railway, and we were handed the controls of I think it was a Thomas model that they used to interact with the narrow gauge engine. I'm not quite sure which one it was, but that was just I mean, literally, I think nothing for me can beat this one experience in this very moment. It was something that came out of nowhere, and I'm still trying to actually sort of get my head around that this has actually happened. The weather was nice on that day, at least in the afternoon as well. So I think for that moment alone, that day was just awesome. There have been a lot of great days, weather-wise, local-wise, shot-wise, but I think this moment is just, yeah, it was just amazing. So I think I have to go with that one. Yeah.
Okay, so I think the next question will be quite the same, because I wrote down, is there any memory which you will never forget about the trip?
Yeah, I mean that's a very good. That's probably the same answer. I'm trying to think of another one that really stands out, because there are a lot of good memories about the trip. Something that really, really stands out. Yeah, then again, also the Tullochlan, the photo charger. So the first time for me in God knows how many years that I've actually been riding behind a steam engine. That was also with the sunset and everything. It was also very nice. There obviously also was the moment at the Keelandworth Valley Railway when we were traveling up the valley towards Oxnard for the Railway Children sort of theatrical play. That was also very nice. Also some window hanging, going back down the line. So I think those two are some other moments that I will definitely remember. Yeah.
Okay. And was it stressful for you to drive on the left side for the first time? So basically the first hour.
Okay, so it's like just right after Dover.
Yeah.
So okay. To be honest, this might sound very, very weird, but I have driven in Forza Horizon and some other games at home where I actually tried to drive on the left-hand side to sort of get a feeling for it. And I would actually say that helped me a lot. And I think that pretty much right from the beginning, I sort of got the hang of it. And I don't think that I had any major problems. It got smoother over the time, but I think right from the get-go, I was pretty confident in driving on the left-hand side. And I mean, after a month, you totally get the hang of it. So yeah.
What railway did you like the most, and would you consider working there?
If I have the chance to volunteer at some railway at some point in my life, because either I move in the area next to that or anything else, I would definitely enjoy volunteering at a railway. That's definitely something I would highly enjoy. What railway it would be is a bit of a tough question, because it sort of involves that you sort of have to live in the area, because obviously some people like to travel to a railway just to volunteer there. I think for me it would more be the case of actually living near a railway, because I work somewhere near there, and then volunteering on the railway. I mean, we've been to a lot of amazing railways. I think volunteering wise, it would probably either be the Bluebell Railway. That was very nice. Um, maybe West Somerset, but I think Bluebell would be my first choice probably. Yeah.
And the railway you liked the most was also Bluebell, or?
The Bluebell was very nice because also we had some nice weather there. Um, I think if the weather had been better from a filming point of view, I would have enjoyed the Dartmouth Steam Railway a bit more, because we didn't get to do a lot of drone shots that I wanted to do on that day because it rained for the majority of it. Um, so I think that would be a contender as well. Um, I mean, the teleclin is also amazing, but I think, yeah, probably one of those three will probably be, if I have to give out a best heritage railway in the UK award that I've been to, I think it would be one of those three. But again, the work that every railway does is amazing, so that shouldn't be discredited. Yeah.
Okay. How would you describe the trip in 3 words?
Adventure. Mm, experiences. Yeah, fun. Yeah, I think those three are the words that perfectly summed it up. Yeah.
And also talking about experiences, when we talk about the trains, did you learn anything new which you didn't ever heard before this trip? Or is there something standing out?
I think there's no major information sort of standing out. There are sort of small bits and pieces that you sort of get to know when you talk to people that have been on the railway for a much longer period of time than I have. There surely are some smaller pieces of information that sort of have come to me, and now some things might make a lot more sense than it did before. But I don't think there's any major information. It was just sort of experiencing a lot of knowledge that I already had firsthand, so that was another great way, but I don't think there was anything major that was new to me.
Okay. Were there any big surprises during the trip?
Big surprises in what way is the question? The first.
In
Okay.
problems, but also in
Yeah.
good things.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously, pretty much on the first day, driving off the ferry in Dover with the check coolant light coming on, that was a bit of a surprise, and also the ECM not properly working. Those two things. I mean, I'm sure that I have talked about that in the video, but yeah, those were obviously some surprises. Obviously, driving the actual Thomas prop into Tillicton, that was a major surprise. Anything else that I can really think about this was sort of a surprise. I don't think there was any major surprise, but I was. There were some points at which I was happy that railways actually continued to work steam services during the trip, because I had a bit of a fear that there might be more diesel locomotives in action, because it was quite dry at some point during our trip, and obviously we had at the watercress line there were steam services were suspended during the Day of Thomas event, and also we didn't get to see that. That was the only major issue with the droughts. We didn't get to see a steam engine at the Welshpool and Langfair Railway. That would have been from Austria, I think. That was originally scheduled to be on duty there. So that is a bit of a bummer, but any other surprises? I don't think there were any major surprises, no.
Okay. Were you happy with the equipment you brought with you?
Yes, I was very happy with the equipment. Obviously, you can always go for a better camera, better video recorder. So if I sort of have the opportunity to continue doing this, I think one of my first investments would be in a proper sort of camera or video recorder. Obviously, the iPhone is still amazing for the price, and the fact that it's normally just a phone, but you can do some really nice videos with it. That was nice. The only thing missing on that is that sort of changing the zoom is a bit tricky with the iPhone. So I like to just jump between 3 times and 1 times the zoom. If I had a proper camera, I would just, as you would, zoom smoothly. So that's one downside of the camera on the iPhone. But yeah, in general, the iPhone is very good for those things. That I was happy with that. It brought a new drone just, I think, a few weeks before we did the trip. So I had a Potensic Atom before that. That was fine, but I wasn't totally happy, even though the camera is 4K and 30 FPS. The sensor is, I think, a bit different. And now I've got the DJI Mini 4 Pro. Obviously, there are sensors on there with so collision avoidance. That's a big bonus, and I'm not sure if it actually would have happened at some point, but I got close to collisions. I'm not sure if I actually would have hit anything, but it got close and I could see that, so that was nice. Also, the image quality is, I've seen some footage now, and it is definitely better than the old drone. So I think that was also an investment that was definitely worth it. And also the microphones, I've obviously bought quite some time ago now, and they're also working great. And yeah, in general, the equipment did well. I mean, the tripod had a bit of a problem, but no, I'm actually very happy with the equipment that we've brought. Yeah.
Okay, and since we've been now quite for a while in the UK,
Yeah.
obviously, would you consider living in the UK? And if you do so, would there anything bother you?
I definitely can consider. I could see myself living in the UK. I think that's it's the last month sort of confirmed that I think I would be able to adapt to a life here in the UK. The only major problem with that is that I just have to cut sort of, well, not any connections, but that you can see your family and your friends on a daily basis, and that's probably the major step that's stopping me from actually moving to the UK. Besides the whole stuff with getting a visa and the proper job and everything, but I could see myself living in the UK. I think the one thing that would probably bother me the most is a bit of the size of supermarkets. We are, I mean, we have also got small supermarkets in Austria, but we are used to having sort of big stores relatively close to our homes. So that's probably only the only thing that really
Also
bothers me.
with fresh meat, so we do not only have
Ye-
packed up.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah, so there are some smaller things, mainly when it comes to food and in general just consumption of goods. What not yeah, I'm not sure how I should probably say it, but I think you get what I mean. But yeah, I think I could see myself living in the UK. Yeah.
Okay. And last but not least, would you do such a trip again? And if you would so, would there be any changes?
I mean, obviously, I mean the trip was amazing, and if I ever have the chance to do something this again, I would definitely take that chance and do such a trip again. Any changes? I'm I'm not really sure if I would do any major changes. I mean, obviously, if I did another trip through the UK, I would change sort of the railways that we go to have a bit of variety in that as well. So not just do the exact same trip again. So I would try to get some, just try to mix it up a bit. From a planning point of view, I don't think I would do anything differently. I made sort of shot lists or plans for pretty much every railway where we had a timetable, and I made a sort of map with locations and when we had to be where to get the most shots out of the day. I would do that again. That worked pretty well. Some spots obviously are different than they look on sort of Google Street View and something, but that's logical. But I'm not sure if I would do it again in the summer. I mean, we have sort of been limited on when we could do such a thing. Obviously, right after school and before we have to start sort of social services, if that's what it's called. I mean, we have such a thing in Austria. Google it, you'll find it. So we have been limited in when we could do this trip, so that's why we did it in summer. And also we had some events that we went to that were in summer, so that also worked really nicely. I would personally love to experience some railways in the winter. That would be something. I mean, we were at the autumn showcase last year, so autumn is another. Just in general, if I did another trip like this, I would do it in a different season. Maybe spring, winter, or autumn. But winter is a bit critical because not all rivers are open there. But I think I wouldn't change anything else. I would do the exact same thing with, from a driving point of view, 2 days coming from Austria to the UK, use the ferry because that went reasonably well. And then I would do the same thing, like sort of not book every hotel right on the start, so you had a bit of flexibility and just book, I don't know, a week in advance or something. That also worked brilliantly. So no, I don't think there are any major things that would need improvement to if we ever were to do such a trip again. So yeah, I think we actually planned everything very nicely and also came out without any major problems. So yeah.
I have no more questions.
Okay. Yeah, so those are my sort of first final thoughts on this whole trip. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comments, and I will try to answer all of your questions as fast as I can. Maybe there will be another video when all the sort of feedback from the videos and everything gets in, and I had a bit more time to think about everything. Who knows? But that should be it for now. I've given everything that I have to say right now. And yeah, thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. And if you don't want to miss any further content on this channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, just thank you for watching.